Culture of Unrushing episode 5. We are doing something slightly different today. So normally in the previous episodes, like how I worked with it is like I had a topic in my mind that I wanted to explore and kind of like write down my thoughts. And I usually had like a more proper outline of what I want to say, kind of like what are like the points to keep it like a little bit more organized. And today I'm doing something slightly different, something more off the cuff. So let's see how that goes. And something more practical. So you can think of it as like a little business case study, if you may. So I am creating a mastermind, and I also have been a part of different masterminds. Anyway, I am organizing a mastermind, like I said, and I've also been a participant in a couple of masterminds in the past, both paid and unpaid. And I thought it would be like a really good opportunity to kind of like take you on the road with me as I am sharing how I design it and why, so that you can also, I mean, obviously learn if you want to join mine or not, but more importantly for you is to actually, if you've never been a part of a mastermind, like to see whether this is something for you, or or if you've had experience that you maybe were not super happy with and gave up on the idea of joining masterminds, then you would see like what you can look at to make this experience better for you the next time. If you are just interested in this topic, I think it would be like a really good opportunity to learn more about it, because like even like masterminds at this point, it's become so like there's so many that honestly it's such, I don't want to say it's such a like filler word, because it's not, but it's such a broad concept that there are so many ways to approach it that there are really so many ways to approach it. And again, like one of my like working ethos is to create the conditions and create the work that works for you. And same goes for offers, and same goes for like offers that you join as a participant. So without further ado, let me walk you through. And I'm also using the example of my own mastermind that will start in autumn, because like mastermind has become such a broad topic, right? Such a broad concept that honestly, if you asked me, oh, should it be paid or unpaid? Should it be for 5 people or for 40 people? Honestly, I would just like say it depends, because that's true. Like it depends. I will walk you through my example, and I think like through that you would be able to make your own reflections and your own conclusions as to what kind of like mastermind are you looking for? Is this even a form of reaching your goals that you want to entertain or not? So buckle up and let's get started. So without making it sound like it's just like a prolonged pitch, because it's not my intention here, I will tell you a little bit more about what my intention for my mastermind is, because that will help you kind of like frame what's like how I make my design decisions from there. And so for me, my main goal for the mastermind, that will be a small group. I am aiming at 5 people plus me as a facilitator. And the goal, it will be like a 4-month mastermind. And I will also briefly tell you why I decided for this length and not shorter, not longer. Anyway, like the goal that I had with my mastermind, and I called it a 4-month mastermind for driven and caring leaders who want to replace noise and information overload with more space to arrive at their own conclusion, apply the knowledge that they already have, and start navigating their career or business in a way that serves them, instead of implementing yet another solution just because it worked for someone else. So my goal here is not to teach you any particular framework. Like I have a framework, like I have pillars that I operate on, which is, more time to integrate, more time to reflect. I've been a retrospective facilitator for quite some time. So includes time to start learning to reconnect with your intuition. Like, what does a yes sound like to you? What does a no feel like to you, right? So my goal here is just like, let's use the resources that you already have instead of believing that you need yet another framework or yet another solution or yet another course. And I'm such a nerd. Like, I love learning. I've always been good at school. I love learning. And I have a couple of courses that I do want to take out of like sheer interest in learning new skills. But I think it's a very fine balance between getting into this like scarcity. I hate saying scarcity mindset. It reminds me of coaches who diagnose you with scarcity mindset when you don't buy their offers. But there is this fine balance between feeling like you're not enough and you have to learn yet another skill. And it honestly, it goes round and round and round and round and round, where you feel like you need yet another skill, that you're not enough, that you're not good at marketing, that you're not as good at prioritization, that you're not good at AI, that you're not good at this communication. Like, there are truly so many skills that you could feel like you're not good enough. And I think there's like a fine balance between being like, oh, that's an area. Sorry. This is not my first language. This is the area in which I want to improve, because I see that, like, I've had 5 offers, none of them sold. So maybe there is something to look into that. Or I see that I could have thought of some examples before I said it, but like, let's see that I get really, like, when I public speak, I get super nervous, and maybe I need a course, like how to kind of ground myself in my body and just like prepare better, so this is not such a high heart rate experience for me, right? So there are definitely, I definitely am in favor of education and learning. And at the same time, there is this tendency that many people have, myself included, that we don't appreciate what we already know, what we've already learned. And we feel like there's another framework that we need, where in fact, what we need is to spend more time with integrating and applying what we already know. And I've written like a Substack, I think early this year, that I will link here in show notes, about book clubs, why I love book clubs, because I was running one and I attended a couple. And to me, it was also because at one point, I think because of like I don't have TikTok, but like YouTube or something, I saw that, oh my God, like if I have a profile about books, then I need to like read a book after book, and like have this quota to read 50 books a year to feel morally superior or whatever. I realized if someone asked me, hey, I got that, what book do you recommend to buy my mother-in-law or something? She likes fiction, historical fiction or whatever. I'll be like, I don't know. And I realized that even like, I read, I don't know, however many books in a year, but like I had really hard time to actually articulate what I liked about it, or what I didn't, or what would I recommend, what I'm taking away. And so going to book clubs, and I don't want to spend too much time here because you're going to read the Substack. I really want to get into the mastermind. But what I realized is that actually when I read it in the group and I take some time to think like what really resonated with me, what really stuck with me, and compare it with other people's point of view, then this experience is so much richer. And like the example that I gave in the Substack was about Clara and the Sun and the novel. And what was so interesting to me is that like I looked through it very much through the lens of grief and like the emotional component of losing someone, like without giving too much spoilers, but like this consideration of people you love will eventually die. And other people in the like book club, they concentrated more on like the AI and technology, because this was like a robot friend in this, like I'm flattening this novel, but like they focus more on like this link between like technology and our relationships. And it was, I remember coming back from this book club, I felt so nourished. And I was like, oh my God, this made this entire interaction with this written text so much richer for me because we had this discussion, which is a very long-winded way to say that if you're learning, that first of all, making this time to apply the knowledge or actually sit with the material that you've read or that you've listened to, instead of just like going to the very next thing, kind of like grounds this knowledge or grounds this understanding, or it's just like, no, it's not, it becomes not in like information retrieval, but it actually becomes like more of like a knowledge, or actually it goes through your own filters. So that's when it comes to this, like taking more time to actually interact with the material that you have, whether it's like books for pleasure, or whether that's actually like a course that you're learning how to, you know, like improve in whatever part of your career, business life that you want to. So that's one part. And the second part is actually having so many different, like a couple different points of view and time and space to exchange, which, as I said, like a lot of questions that I wouldn't have thought of came to me because I was in exchange with other people. And that's also why, to me, masterminds are such a good opportunity to work on your goals and to make progress. That I think when I was building my first business, which was supposed to be a reflective apparel brand. So yes, I remember it was, I actually forgot I took part in this one. So yeah, so I think since then I've been a part of like 5 different masterminds, I think. Some unpaid, some paid. And maybe let's get started with this one, like paid or unpaid. And I honestly think it should be paid. I think it really depends what you need. Like I joined one mastermind that was unpaid. It was kind of like, you know, a group of fellow business owners or like aspiring business owners had a group chat on Telegram, and we were supposed to keep each other accountable. And we met, I think, like once a month in person in one of the cafes. And it was really lovely. Like we met in one of like the networking events, and one of the colleagues took initiative, and I'm very grateful for her to her for that. And we came up with the group. But what didn't work is that when you don't have like a group moderator or group facilitator whose job it is to make you all move towards a desired direction, it's really hard to organize yourselves like without that person who's appointed to take that responsibility. Because holding a group is a responsibility, and that's something that I will talk more like in whichever minute of this podcast. But it is a big job. So that's one part. And second is the stage in which we were in. And I think this was one of the biggest reasons why I wasn't really very happy in this group, is because I was a full-time entrepreneur at this point. My only sources of business, like I had no, like I was not employed. If I don't have clients in my business, then I don't have money to pay my rent. It's a completely different situation to someone who's building a business on the side but has a secure paycheck. Like, of course, I care more about meeting my business goals, because if I don't, I'm fucked, you know? Whereas if it's like your side quest and you don't have a desire to move your business forward in the next few months, then you're not as compelled. You have other things you're thinking of, and that's completely fine. It's just that I think it's, when you think of a group composition, I think it's really important to think what is their goal. And for us in that unpaid mastermind, it was important to move forward with our business. Again, it's very different situation to someone for whom it's a sole source of income and is really determined on making that happen, versus someone who treats it as a side part, like a side business that they don't have this pressure of making it work in the next few months, right? So that's a completely different thing. But I don't want to say that just like a stage of business is always the differentiator. So, for example, in my mastermind, I don't think it really matters, because the goal that I want for people to work towards in the 4 months together is that I want them to replace some of the noise and reconnect. What I want them to do is build a better trust in their own decision making and learn how to notice where something is not working for them, and instead of making it mean something bad about them, asking themselves like, why do I feel resistance to it? And like build enough trust in themselves that even though, like they respect and acknowledge other experts, other people's knowledge and expertise, you decide not to take their advice because you know what's good for you, right? And you have this also space and stamina to experiment and to look for ways that work for you. And these are the qualities that are important at any stage of their business, like this, that you might need to strengthen when you're starting a business or when you are a leader in a company that's going through transition, or whether you've already built a business that has like a steady income, or maybe you had and now you don't, and now you're like, what is going on? Like things are changing. Like you've been following other coaches' frameworks for 2 years and they were working until they stopped. So to me, this is not as important as like how many years have you been in business, or are you an entrepreneur, or are you employed in a company? The main goal is to like return to yourself and be able to have to reconnect with your own decision making, to use the knowledge, to have this time to integrate and to use this knowledge that you already have, and have enough space to experiment while you have access to person like me who has been working on like process optimization, process improvements for the past 7 or 8 years, and I can help you build this way forward and this space to experiment and help you navigate whatever change you make. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna make a decision. It's like I decided to make a decision and follow this plan. So that's how I approach like the group composition. And another thing on the group composition is how many people, right? So I made a decision to have like 5 people in the group max, because I am a person who really prefers like smaller gatherings. I like to give a lot of individual attention to everyone. And to me, like, I don't know, at least now, I know I wouldn't be able to give as much attention and time to like 20 people. But therefore, what I'm doing is I will be having calls with everyone who reaches out that they're interested, so that I can vet that we are good, that we have like a similar expectations. Because when we have 5 people or like 6 with me, and someone is just like completely, for example, bringing a very competitive spirit instead of collaboration, or is just like trying to like extract from other people. So like, to me, I feel like this is my responsibility, especially when the group is so small, to really see whether we're a good match. And one of the questions that I never have like a list of questions, but one of the things that is important to me is, for example, like, what are your struggles and how do you feel about sharing struggles? Because one of the, I don't want to say healing, but it's just like one of the things that I really appreciate about Mastermind is finding out that, oh, I'm not the only one who struggles with this. Like, I'm not the only one who struggles with doubting myself. I'm not the only one who struggles when I come up with a new way of selling or a new way of leading people and it's not giving results yet, right? So to me, it's very important to be able to have this level of vulnerability, like, you know, like not share your like deepest, darkest secrets of your psyche. Like, this is not therapy. We're not doing like a therapy work here, but you need a certain level of honesty and openness to share that you're actually struggling and you don't have that. Yeah, you don't know all the answers. So that's one of the things that I want to know, because like it, like, I mean, you probably heard it 1,000 times that we are, like, it really matters who we surround ourselves with. And if we don't feel like we can share our doubts in a mastermind and that we need to perform a person who has their shit together and knows everything, then this is just like really a waste. So that's one of the things that are important to me in terms of like who joins, because yeah, like just putting a group of random 5 people together is not helpful. Like, this would, like, you know, like maybe when you're lucky, but I don't think that this is the best way to do it, and therefore I'm not doing it this way. Okay, I had a tiny break to put the lights on. It's a pretty rainy, dark day today in Berlin. So far, when it comes to like designing the mastermind and making sure that you join the one that actually benefits you, I talked about paid versus unpaid. I talked about the group size, that like, to me, smaller groups where I am able to give/receive, depending whether I'm a participant or not, a lot of individual attention is something that I really, really value. I'm an external processor. I like having space to really talk it through. That's something I'm also like a more introverted person. So that's my personal preference. To be honest, when do big groups make sense? They totally do. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, like I know best how to set it up and other people don't. No, like absolutely joining like a bigger groups make total sense. Like, you have access to more connections, but it's also a different level of depth, right? Like, depends what you're looking for. If you're a person who really likes a lot of in-person attention, I think smaller groups are the best, and that's what I prefer. If you want to be in a group of like bigger person, like you want to have access to like more point of views and kind of like a different level of connection, different type of environment, like if you feel better in like larger environments, then by all means, I think it's also very beneficial. It's just like, I've learned to know myself so far in this however many years of being being on this route to making my work for me. I know that this is just not for me, so I don't put that much attention into these spaces. So that's it. I think and that's kind of like the message that I want you to hear from this podcast, is that my way is not the best way. My way is not the only way. My way is the best way for some people who have the same needs as I do. So that's kind of the vibe here, right? And if you have different needs, there are so many different people who can create groups that are better for whatever you need. So that's the disclaimer here. Okay, so that I think we covered. Another one is length, right? So like, how many? And I decided for 4 months because, like, to me, again, like, especially if you don't know each other in the beginning, like, we need time to build trust. Again, like, this is not therapy. Like, we won't be sharing childhood traumas here. I'm in no way, shape, or form qualified to be dealing with this. But it takes a certain level of, like I said before, it takes a certain level of vulnerability to share that, you know what, like, I'm struggling with this. Like, I tried this, let's say, like, new meeting model where I'm like doing all my group meetings or courses in a different way, and I'm not sure if it's really working. Like, I haven't really seen the results yet, and I would love to see results faster. Like, how do I deal with this? There is like a lot, especially when we're navigating through change, there is a lot of novelty involved, and there is like a lot of this period in between, right? So like, let's say that you are present on the multiple platforms and you see that this is too much, you're spreading yourself too thin, and you want to cut back on like one or two platforms, for example. And one of them was bringing you revenue. And so, and momentarily you will see a dip before these other actions take, like bring results. And this is a very difficult part to navigate. And having a space where you can actually share it with a group of people and people can, well, either give advice or just listen to you. I think that's like a really good tip, regardless of whether you run a mastermind or you're just in a group of people, to be, whenever you're sharing or whenever you're about to respond, is to actually ask, like, do you want advice or do you want to be listened to? Because like, I can tell you, I was in my like in-person circle, I was probably like the first person to start their own business, and I had heard so many advice from people who were not entrepreneurs, that I should do this, I should do that, and like, I have not asked for it. I think like they're like, it's one of those like really annoying things when you are given unwanted advice. Like, I have not asked, and I think like that's like a really good practice as a participant in mastermind and as just like participant in group, being like, I am looking to be heard, I am not looking for advice. Or just say like, I'm looking for advice because I don't know what to do in this. And I think it's like a really good habit, like to communicate what you need, and being like a part of the group. But I'm slowly losing my thread. Okay, so that's about the group. That's about the group size, and length, 4 months. Okay, that's why. So the reason for me is also why it's 4 months is because we're building a habit here and we're building trust, right? So like, it takes time to build trust within the group, and it takes time to build habit, especially when you're implementing change, to go through this process of, I made a decision to do things differently, and now I'm actually experimenting with different ways and kind of like navigating myself within this transition period. So I think like honestly, 4 months is probably the shortest that I would do, for that reason. At the same time, and that's something that maybe I will organize at one point, is when the goal is like to really be activated, like kind of like a sprint. I also like really like spaces where you just like sprint for something and you just like go with this like energy of the group and everyone's just like, on fire. Then I think like small, like shorter times, they can also work really well when we're like really kicking off the momentum. But in this case, like in case of the space that I'm building here, what's important to me is really building this space. So we're not kind of like giving you a lot of input. It's honestly, it's on the contrary. We're learning how to slow down the reaction time, that you actually have time to reflect and to actually ask yourself, like, what do you want to do in this? Like, what's the judgment that you make here? Not what other people say, but what you want to do, and kind of like reconnect with that. And for that, you need to cut off some of the noise. So as you can see, like, I have this purpose of what I want, what's the change that I want people to go through in mind in every single part of this mastermind. And And being very clear on what's the purpose, I think, makes it very easy to make those decisions further, right? Because, and again, kind of coming to like, what does the industry do versus what do you do? Like, but what if you're like teaching a completely different thing? Like, what would work for you as an organizer? Is very important, and it's so much easier to know what you want to, how this thing should look like when you have a clear purpose that you want to fulfill. Another part that I think is really important, like if you want to join a mastermind, is the role of the facilitator. So there are two different things. Like one, and there are probably more, but two that come to me is that how you learn. So a facilitator can be a person who's holding the group, but is not, that doesn't guide you. Like they hold the group, they facilitate, they make sure that everyone has enough space, that everyone feels like they belong in the group, like they are this like vibe checker and logistics organizer and everything in between. But they don't come as like an expert who's like, this is what you should do. And there are other masterminds where like the facilitator, yes, comes as facilitator and does all of the things that I just said, and also have a certain level of expertise that they are sharing that you can ask them. And again, I think both are really important. It really depends like what you need at this point. Like, do you, and I think like when you're a participant, that's like a good thing to ask, like kind of like whose support do I have access to? Do I have like support kind of like horizontal, as in like how much do I interact with other participants? Like, can we like really learn from each other? Or is it more than like I have access to you who organizes it and you kind of coach me through the topics? So in my case, it's both. But again, like I think this is something that it's just really worth asking. Like, and again, like I this is like a dynamic that I see in online space that I really don't like, which is like, don't ask too many questions and like your content should speak for themselves, which is like people are investing like 4-digit amounts, like, and there's like a lot of slop online. Like, I think it's very smart and very important to ask questions, like especially if you're joining a space where there are like 5 people, and you're committing to like 4 months or however many months of your time. I think it's like a really good practice to write to the organizer and say like, hey, I'm on the fence, like I want to know like whose support can I actually receive from here, like what's there, like, because like I also have been in spaces that I paid 4 digits for, where I had like literally 3 minutes for a question, and I was like, I'm paying quite a lot of money to be given 3 minutes and be like boom 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 boom, like snappy, like ideally come with the answer yourself. And I was like, if I came with the answer myself, like I wouldn't be here, like I wouldn't be paying here, you know what I mean? And I think that's also why I try not to use the word should too much in my everyday language, because there are like very few things that we truly should do. But I think like if you want to join a space like mastermind, there are like, I also don't like the word high touch, but it's like one of the words in the industry. But like if you join a space where there's like a lot of this contact, like you should like or vibe with this person, and also feel safe with them, that you can ask them. And again, it comes to trust. If you feel that you have 2 minutes, like you're in like city council and you have like, you come with like a printed number and you come for 2 minutes and then you have to fuck away, then I'd say look further for someone who can give you the space to talk. And I think it's also a fine balance. And I think that's also where a role of facilitator sometimes gets undervalued, is that actually keeping, it's one of those things, like, it reminds me, I had a colleague in university who was playing drums, and I remember him saying to me that he loves it, but it's like people only notice when I fuck up. Like, like when he's doing like a good job, and drums is such a difficult instrument. Like nobody notices him. And I think this is very similar to like the operations team or like to facilitator, that if it's running well, people don't notice how much work it is to keep the group together, keep everyone on track, and just like move in the right direction. And people only notice when they fuck up, and there is like a conflict is not a fuck up, but it's just like when they fuck up, and there's just like some screw dynamic. But coming back to this, like, have 2 minutes to answer versus, there are some people who can like beat about the bush for half an hour, and like you're really like don't know like where this train of thought is going. And that's kind of like what an experienced facilitator can do. They can guide you, can guide your, like, can either make you feel safe to, like explore more and actually have this time to process without you overtaking the entire call. Because like that's when I said that, like, when you see like this facilitator, when they're screwing up or when there's lack thereof, is where there's like one person who overtakes the entire call, and you're like, what happened? Like why is it like this? So I think that's also like really important. And again, like I'm talking here in case of mastermind, but the things that I'm saying, they are very helpful to any group dynamic. Like we are in group calls, we are like, even if you're like employed and you have like a team meeting, like these are the skills that you can definitely use and like be like, okay, like how can what does a balance between everyone feels heard and no one overtaking the conversation is good. And on that topic, I don't want to move too much here because it's almost like 40 minutes of me talking already. But I have a freebie where I talked more about like how you can also create your offers and spaces that focus on like amplifying certain emotions, and how to use like language to be more supportive, because that's another topic. And not to make this podcast way too long, but when it comes to being in the group, like how do you, like from the participant's point of view, how do you deal when you're not seeing the results as fast as other people, right? Like this is also part of growth and concerns that you might have when you are in a group of people. And I think that's also like kind of like a shared responsibility of both the facilitator or both like the mastermind organizer to make sure that everyone truly feels seen, and creating like the conditions for folks focusing on their own growth, and also like a possibility for you to like emotionally regulate and kind of like learn to be in this discomfort that like I see, kind of holding this tension of I see my own growth and I see other people's, and I learn not to be threatened by this, because we're not here to compete, we're here to learn from one another, and we're here in different speeds, which is something that that's why like I really like having those groups and like helping people like recognize like their own, like like creating this space like to help them recognize their own progress in this time. So that's another thing. Role of the facilitator. Yeah, and I think like the last, because again, like as you can see, like I'm so fired up about this because like I truly see the value of those groups. Because like if we look at, one-on-one masterminds and courses, I don't think any is better than the other. I think it truly depends on what your goals are. Like one-on-one is, you probably go the fastest, right? Because the attention is fully on you. You have your mentor, coaches, whoever, undivided attention, and you just go it's like this proverb that I don't know who said it. Great citation. That you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go with other people. And I think that's the gist of it. Like there are times where I just want to go fast, and I know that if I just have one-on-one support, I will meet my goal the fastest. And at the same time, I know that being in the group is just like, yeah, like it is so much richer because I have access to other people's perspectives, other like we are, like we are like a communal beings. Like we want to surround ourselves with other people. And it's just like a completely different dynamic when you are in the group and you feel this like support and belonging of being in a group. And when it comes to courses, like of course they are still very important, but I think we truly need this balance between gaining new skills and actually having time to apply them, to integrate. And to me, I see truly so many people, and I was on this road, and I mean, I'm still am to some extent, like, like there are so many rules that we follow on autopilot, and it's like, like the longer I'm here on this route, the more I see who said that this is the only way to run things. But truly giving yourself this space to actually reduce the noise and come back to your own knowing, your own judgment, this is a skill that you just like take. It just keeps on giving, and that's why I'm so excited to build this space. And yeah, again, like when it comes to mastermind, like you can email me any questions you have, because like I'm already at like 50 minutes and there are like so many things that I wanted to say about like, should you join, again, like should, like when does it make sense to join a women only group versus without this like gender consideration, or like so many other things. So yeah, let me know. I think already this couple of dimensions that I shared will be very helpful for you to decide how you want to build your space, what kind of spaces do you want to join as a participant, and yeah. And if you haven't ever considered it, this might be something worth considering. Again, let me know what questions do you have, because like I'm totally up to do a part 2 and share more of my experience, more of my insights. But then this podcast would be like 2 hours, and honestly, I can speak for 2 hours. I can speak for a couple of hours, but I don't know if this is the best approach over here. So, as always, thank you for being here. Always so happy to see people are listening, and yeah, see you next time. See you on the internet, and as always, in the show notes, I will share everything that I think makes a good makes a good like addition to today's episode, and see you on the internet. Ciao.